Dare to assume that you are already the person you wish to be, for assumption, if persisted in, will harden into fact. You stand at the threshold of limitless creation. Right now, you have within you the power to shape your reality, to call forth the life you desire, not tomorrow, not someday, but now. The great secret is this: live in the end. Do not wait for evidence. Do not seek permission from the world. What you accept as true within must express itself without. Ask yourself, if you were already the person you long to be, how would you feel? What thoughts would fill your mind? What actions would come naturally to you? Let this become your dwelling place. Feel it as though it were already so. For reality does not begin in the world of facts. It begins in the world of imagination. You are not subject to the conditions of life. Life is subject to the condition of your mind. Your world is nothing more than a reflection of your inner state. The moment you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you summon its manifestation. If you desire wealth, do not chase it, assume it. If you long for love, do not seek it, become it. The law is simple. That which you assume as true will objectify itself in your experience. You may look at your present circumstances and believe they are real, unchangeable, fixed, but this is an illusion. The only reality is the one you accept in your imagination. What you persistently feel and believe within, the world must conform to without. Do not wait for signs. Do not wait for circumstances to change before you believe. Your senses will tell you that you are bound by limitations, but your senses lie. You must see beyond what is and occupy the state of what is to come. This is the great secret. This is how manifestation works. Your imagination is not fantasy. It is the blueprint of creation. Every great achievement, every success, every moment of transformation first existed in the unseen realm of thought. The world you walk through today was once only an idea. The chair you sit upon, the home you live in, everything began as an unseen reality. It is not enough to simply think of your desire. You must feel it real. Thought alone lacks creative power, but thought fused with emotion becomes a living force. Assume the feeling of already having that which you seek. If it were true now, how would you feel? Let that feeling be your guide. Do not concern yourself with how it will happen. The world will reshape itself in response to your assumption. The means will unfold in ways beyond your comprehension. You need only to remain faithful to your inner conviction. Doubt is the enemy of creation. If you plant a seed and constantly dig it up to see if it is growing, you destroy it. So it is with your assumptions. If you waver, if you entertain opposing thoughts, you halt the process. Hold steadfast to your imagined state. Let nothing shake you. Persist. Persist until the unseen becomes seen. If you want health, see yourself as already healed. If you want success, move as one who already possesses it. Do not beg, do not hope. Assume. And what you assume with conviction must become your reality. The conditions of your life do not dictate what you can become. Your consciousness dictates what the conditions of your life will be. The world is a mirror reflecting back to you the state you most consistently occupy. Change your inner world, and the outer world must follow. It has no choice. If you continue to react to what is, you will remain trapped in the cycle of what is. Instead, rise above appearances. Walk in the conviction of your desire already fulfilled. Let nothing distract you from your inner knowing. You must live now as though your desire is already yours. Walk with the confidence of one who has received what they asked for. Speak as one who knows, not one who wishes. Move through life with the quiet certainty that all things are unfolding exactly as they should. You do not need to struggle, to chase, to force. Simply accept within yourself that it is already done. Live from that state. Let it guide your every thought, word, and action, and watch as the world bends to your assumption. The law is absolute. What you believe to be true in the depths of your being will manifest in time. There is no uncertainty, no exception, no failure. The only question is, what are you choosing to believe? Believe that you are already the person you desire to be, and persist in that belief. The world may tell you otherwise, but the world is only a shadow of past thoughts. Change the cause and the effect must change. You have been given dominion over your reality. Use it wisely. Assume wisely. And above all, live in the end. There is a power within you, a force so absolute that it governs every event, every circumstance, every experience you will ever encounter. This power does not exist outside of you. It is not dependent on chance, luck, or the actions of others. It is within your own consciousness. The world you see, the life you live, the reality you experience, all of it is nothing more than a reflection of what you have assumed to be true. To change your life, you must first change your assumption. It is not enough to desire something. It is not enough to wish for a better life. You must claim it as your own, here and now. Do not place it in the distant future. Do not treat it as something that may come to pass. Live as though it is already done. Walk in the end result of your desire. Feel it as if it were already accomplished. This is the secret, the great mystery that has been hidden in plain sight. Every day, people unknowingly live in the end of something. The one who constantly complains about lack is living in the end of poverty. The one who constantly worries about failure is living in the end of defeat. The world does not bring these conditions to them by accident. They are simply experiencing the external manifestation of their inner state. Your thoughts, your emotions, your inner dialogue, these are the seeds you plant, and they must bear fruit. If you wish to change what you see in your world, you must first change the soil in which your reality is grown. To live in the end is to make your assumption so natural, so unquestioned, that it becomes the very foundation of your being. It is to move through life not as one who hopes, but as one who knows. When you assume something with absolute conviction, when you refuse to entertain any other possibility, you will find the world bending to match your assumption. Look around you. Every object you see, every building, every invention, every great achievement first began as an unseen reality in someone's imagination. The telephone, the airplane, the electric light. These were not accidents of fate. They were born in the mind, and those who believed in them persisted in their assumption until the world had no choice but to conform. This is how reality is shaped. It is not shaped by effort or struggle, nor by the approval of others. It is shaped by an unwavering conviction in the unseen. There are those who will say, "But how can I assume something that is not yet true? How can I feel as though I have something when my senses tell me otherwise?" This is the great misunderstanding of the world. Your senses do not reveal reality. They reveal a reflection of your past assumptions. If you rely on what your eyes see and what your ears hear to determine what is true, you will forever be at the mercy of the world. But if you understand that imagination creates reality, that assumption precedes experience, then you will no longer wait for circumstances to change before you believe. You will believe first, and the change must follow. There is nothing outside of consciousness. There is no force shaping your life apart from the assumptions you hold. If you can accept this, if you can recognize that what you assume and persist in must become your experience, then you will cease to struggle against the world. You will no longer seek, you will no longer chase, you will no longer wish for change, you will simply become it. Do not waver in your assumption. The moment you assume a new reality, the old one begins to dissolve. But if you return to your former beliefs, if you allow doubt to take root, you only prolong the transition. Be unwavering. Let the outer world do what it may. Let circumstances appear unchanged. It does not matter. Persist in the feeling of already having what you desire, and you will watch as the world inevitably reshapes itself in response to your new assumption. This is the law. It has never failed. It cannot fail. That which you accept as true, that which you consistently feel is real, must externalize itself in your world. There is no exception, no condition, no limitation to this truth. The only question is, what are you assuming? Are you assuming the life you desire, or are you assuming its absence? Are you walking as one who possesses or as one who lacks? Every moment you are making a choice. To live in the end is to live beyond appearances. It is to recognize that the unseen is more real than the seen, that the invisible world of assumption is the only reality that matters. You must ask yourself, if my desire were already fulfilled, how would I feel? How would I think? How would I act? And then you must become that version of yourself, not tomorrow, not when conditions change, but now. The one who truly grasps this truth will never again look to the world for validation. They will never again ask if their desire is possible. They will live from the conviction that it is already done, and the world will have no choice but to prove them right. There exists within you a power so absolute that it shapes the very fabric of your reality. This power is not in the external world, nor is it found in the opinions of others. It is within you, within your own consciousness, within the realm of your imagination. And at the core of this power lies one undeniable truth. Feeling is the secret. Every experience you encounter, every event that unfolds in your life, is nothing more than the outpicturing of an inner feeling. Your world is a mirror, reflecting not what you desire, not what you merely think about, but what you feel to be true. It is not enough to intellectually affirm your desires. You must embody the feeling of their fulfillment. You must become the state you wish to externalize. When you close your eyes and imagine, you are not engaging in a meaningless daydream. You are stepping into the workshop of creation, the place where all things begin. But imagination alone is not enough. You must feel yourself to be the very thing you seek. If you wish to be wealthy, you must feel the ease and security of abundance. If you wish to be loved, you must feel cherished and desired. The feeling itself is the reality. The feeling itself is the creative act that must manifest in your world. To understand this fully, you must recognize that there is no separation between you and your desire. The moment you accept the feeling of already having what you seek, the world begins its unseen work to bring it forth. The feeling of possession precedes possession. The feeling of success precedes success. The feeling of health precedes health. This is the law, and it operates with mathematical precision. But most fail to apply it correctly. They allow their senses to dictate their feelings, reacting to what they see rather than creating from within. They look at their empty bank account and feel lack. They look at their loneliness and feel unloved. They look at their circumstances and feel powerless. But to live this way is to give away the creative power that is yours by birthright. You must reverse the process. Instead of allowing the outer world to dictate how you feel, you must dictate how you feel regardless of the outer world. Consider for a moment how natural it is to feel something that has already happened. If you receive a sum of money, you feel the joy of receiving it. If you hear good news, you feel the excitement of the news. But now you must do something extraordinary. You must feel before it happens. You must assume the feeling as if it were already done. This is where most falter, for they believe that feeling follows fact. But the truth is that fact follows feeling. Think back to moments in your life when you were absolutely certain of something before it happened. Perhaps you knew deep within you that you were going to succeed at something before you even saw proof. Perhaps you felt the love of another before they even expressed it. That certainty, that knowing, that feeling of already being in possession, that is what calls forth your reality. This principle applies to all things, and yet it is so misunderstood. People strive, they struggle, they fight against conditions, never realizing that all they need to do is assume the right feeling. The struggle exists only because they have not yet accepted the feeling of their wish fulfilled. They are still trying to make it happen instead of knowing it has already happened. If you wish to test this principle, begin with something small. Assume a feeling of joy without any external reason for it. Let yourself feel successful without waiting for the world to validate it. Let yourself feel loved without seeking confirmation. Do this consistently and you will see the outer world shift to match the inner state. It cannot do otherwise. The world is simply a shadow cast by your assumptions. An assumption is nothing more than sustained feeling. But you must be unwavering. If you assume the feeling of your desire and then allow doubt to creep in, you only delay its manifestation. If you plant a seed and then uproot it every day to check if it is growing, it will never take root. The same is true of feeling. Once you accept the feeling is real, you must persist in it. You must carry it within you as a permanent state of being, knowing that it must become externalized. And so, if you wish to transform your life, transform how you feel. Stop waiting for evidence. Stop reacting to conditions. Close your eyes, enter the state of your fulfilled desire, and feel it with all the intensity of a lived experience. Make it real within you, and it must become real outside of you. There is no exception to this law. The feeling is the bridge between imagination and reality. The feeling is the secret. There is a great mystery hidden in plain sight, a truth so powerful that it governs the entire course of your life. Yet the world teaches you otherwise. It tells you that change happens through effort, struggle, and external circumstances shifting in your favor. But the truth is this: the world does not cause your state of being. Your state of being causes the world. Everything you experience is a reflection of your inner state. The conditions of your life, the people you meet, the opportunities that come or seem to elude you, all of it is a projection of what you are conscious of being. If you see yourself as limited, the world must mirror limitation. If you dwell in the consciousness of abundance, the world must conform to that assumption. This is the law, and it works with absolute certainty. The great mistake is believing that circumstances dictate consciousness. People believe that if they could just get the right job, the right relationship, or the right amount of money, they would then feel successful, loved, or secure. But this is not how reality operates. The outer world is but a shadow, cast by the state of mind you have accepted as true. To attempt to change the world without first changing yourself is as futile as trying to manipulate a reflection in a mirror while ignoring the source that creates it. To understand this fully, you must grasp the nature of states. A state is not simply a mood or a temporary feeling. It is a complete way of being. It includes your beliefs, assumptions, reactions, and expectations. And at every moment, you are occupying a state, whether you are conscious of it or not. There is a state of wealth and a state of poverty, a state of health and a state of sickness, a state of confidence and a state of fear. You move in and out of states throughout your life, but the secret is to dwell persistently in the state that reflects the life you wish to experience. If you wish to change your life, the first step is not to seek new conditions, but to embody a new state. You must assume the state of already being the person you desire to become. You must think from that state, feel from that state, and act from that state. This is not pretending. This is creation. The world only confirms what you already are within. Consider a man who is struggling financially. He believes himself to be poor. He reacts to life as a man in lack, and he assumes that money is difficult to obtain. No matter what actions he takes, if he remains in the state of poverty, he will continue to experience lack. Even if he suddenly comes into a sum of money, his inner state will cause it to slip through his fingers. For his subconscious assumption is one of insufficiency. To change his reality, he must shift his state. He must assume the feeling of financial security, not as a distant hope, but as a present reality. This is where most falter. They attempt to change their thoughts, but remain in the same state. They repeat affirmations, but still feel the same within. The key is not in the words, but in the feeling behind them. To move into a new state, you must fully embody it. You must lose yourself in the assumption that you are already that which you desire to be. You must act, think, and feel as one who already possesses their desire. How then do you shift your state? It begins with imagination. You must first become aware of the state you are currently occupying. Observe your habitual thoughts, your automatic reactions, your expectations of the future. These are all indicators of the state you have accepted as your dwelling place. Then, having recognized where you stand, you must choose to move. You do this by entering the scene of your fulfilled desire in imagination. If you wish to experience love, do not seek love outside of you. Become the state of love within. Imagine yourself already cherished, already adored, already in possession of the relationship you desire. Feel the warmth, the joy, the security of it as if it were happening now. If you wish to experience success, step into the state of the one who is already successful. Feel the confidence, the ease, the certainty of achievement. It is the feeling that makes it real, for feeling is the doorway to state transformation. Once you assume the new state, you must persist in it. The outer world may not reflect it immediately, but this is where most fail. They allow what they see to dictate what they feel. They step into a new state in imagination, but quickly abandon it when physical evidence contradicts it. But the law is precise. The world will only reflect what you have sustained within. You must remain loyal to the state you have chosen. Live from it, breathe from it, make it your home. This is how reality shifts. You do not chase change, you embody it. You do not wish for a new life, you assume it. And when you hold steadfast to the new state, the world must reorganize itself to match it. There is no other way. The outer world is powerless to create. Creation happens within, in the silent depths of consciousness. Change your state, and your world must follow. Everything that manifests in your world is a direct reflection of your inner conversations, the silent dialogue that plays within your mind. You may believe that circumstances shape your life, that outside forces dictate what you can and cannot experience, but this is an illusion. The true cause of all that unfolds before you is the state of consciousness you persist in. If you wish to live in the fulfillment of your desire, you must take control of the one thing that determines all else, your inner dialogue. At every moment, you are speaking to yourself. Whether you are aware of it or not, your thoughts form a constant stream, shaping your assumptions, influencing your emotions, and solidifying the reality you experience. If you carefully observe, you will see that the nature of this conversation determines the quality of your life. The man who continuously complains about lack will inevitably encounter more reasons to feel impoverished. The woman who repeatedly affirms her loneliness will find herself surrounded by absence. But the one who speaks as though their desire is already fulfilled, who inwardly converses from the position of already having, already being, will inevitably see that assumption materialize in their world. Most people allow these inner conversations to run on autopilot. They speak to themselves as they always have, unconsciously repeating the same complaints, the same fears, the same limitations. They rehearse failure, doubt, and rejection before anything has even occurred, and then they wonder why life continues to present them with the same unwanted conditions. But once you understand the creative power of inner speech, you will no longer permit idle, self-defeating words to dominate your mind. You will assume control and deliberately speak in a way that aligns with your fulfilled desire. To change your life, you must change your inner dialogue. This is not a mere technique. It is the very foundation of creation. You must begin to hear within yourself the words that imply your desire is already a reality. If you seek success, you must inwardly engage in conversations that reflect the life of one who has already succeeded. Instead of thinking from lack, you must think from abundance. Instead of reinforcing limitations, you must affirm possibilities. You must become the one who, in imagination already possesses what they seek. This is not about forcing positive thoughts or mindlessly repeating affirmations. It is about fully embodying the state of having. The words you speak to yourself must carry the conviction of reality. They must feel natural, as though they are the inevitable truth of your existence. If you are seeking love, do not say to yourself, "I hope one day to find someone." Instead, hear within your mind the words of someone who is already in the relationship they desire. Imagine your partner speaking to you with love and affection. Hear the words, "I adore you. I am always here for you. You are the one I have always wanted." Let those words become the natural soundtrack of your mind, and the world will conform to match them. Your imagination is the meeting place where these inner conversations take shape. Every night, as you drift into sleep, you have an opportunity to plant the seeds of your future. The words you allow to echo in your mind in those final moments before sleep will sink into your subconscious, and from there, they will shape your reality. If you go to bed replaying arguments, reliving past disappointments, or worrying about the future, you are unconsciously affirming a state that will manifest itself in your waking life. But if you use this time wisely, if you deliberately construct inner conversations that reflect your fulfilled desire, you will awaken to a world transformed. There is no need to force the outer world to change. It is only an echo, a reflection of the conversation taking place within you. The key is persistence. You must remain faithful to the new dialogue, even when physical reality has not yet conformed. Too often, people fall back into old patterns the moment they see no immediate change. They allow the outside world to dictate their inner state instead of realizing that the world is only responding to what they persist in believing. To live in the fulfilled desire, you must make these inner conversations a habit. They must become second nature, the default language of your mind. If at any moment you find yourself slipping into old patterns, complaining, doubting, or worrying, catch yourself immediately and shift your dialogue. Replace words of lack with words of abundance. Replace uncertainty with certainty. If you do this consistently, if you train yourself to speak from fulfillment rather than longing, the outer world will have no choice but to comply. Everything you experience is the result of the words you have spoken in the depths of your being. The world cannot help but reflect your inner speech, for it is law. Speak as though your wish is already fulfilled, and reality will bend to match your words. What you continuously affirm within will manifest without, for the outer world is powerless to do otherwise. You need only persist in the new conversation, and life will reshape itself to reflect your assumption. Your senses will deceive you. They will show you a world of facts, circumstances, and conditions that appear immovable. They will insist that what is in front of you is real and that you must accept it as the ultimate truth. But if you live by the evidence of the senses alone, you will remain bound to the very limitations you wish to escape. You must develop a new way of seeing, one that does not rely on what appears to be, but on what you have chosen to accept as true. In the unseen realm of imagination, you may believe that change comes from effort, from force, from altering conditions in the external world. But this is not so. All true change begins within, in the realm of consciousness. The outer world is nothing more than a mirror reflecting your inner assumptions. If you attempt to change the reflection without first changing the cause, you will find yourself trapped in an endless cycle, forever struggling against effects rather than addressing the root. But the moment you learn to see beyond appearances, the moment you assume the truth of your desire, regardless of what the senses report, you set into motion an inevitable transformation. The great secret is this: what you believe to be true, what you persist in assuming, must harden into fact. The world cannot help but shape itself according to your inner convictions. But the test is one of faith. Will you hold fast to your vision when all evidence points to the contrary? Will you persist in your assumption even when nothing seems to change? Most people falter here. They look for signs, for proof, for validation from the world before they commit to believing. But this is not the way. You must believe first. You must accept the reality of your fulfilled desire before there is any tangible proof of its existence. The senses will tell you that you are alone, that you are struggling, that you are lacking, but you must refuse to accept these reports as the ultimate reality. Instead, you must close your eyes to what is and open the eyes of imagination to what you desire. You must see with absolute clarity the world as it would be if your desire were already fulfilled. You must enter into that state so completely that it becomes more real to you than anything the senses can show. The mind, once convinced of a new truth, will compel the world to arrange itself accordingly. This is not wishful thinking, it is law. The one who understands this principle and applies it with discipline will find that nothing is impossible. But the price is unwavering faith. You cannot waver between two states, believing in the fulfillment of your desire one moment and then doubting the next. If you do, you create conflict within yourself, and the world will reflect that confusion. You must be single-minded in your assumption, holding it so firmly that even the strongest evidence to the contrary cannot shake you. The world of the senses is slow to catch up with the world of imagination. There is always a gestation period, a time between assumption and manifestation. This is where most people fail. They assume their desire for a moment, but when they do not see immediate results, they abandon their belief. They revert to old patterns of thought, allowing doubt, fear, and frustration to take hold. But the one who understands that delay is not denial, that the outer world must conform in due time, will remain steadfast. They will persist in their assumption, knowing that what is unseen is more real than what is seen. You do not need to worry about how your desire will unfold. The mind, bound by logic, will attempt to figure out the means to control the process, to force circumstances into alignment. But this is unnecessary. The infinite intelligence that governs all things will arrange the means in ways beyond your comprehension. Your only responsibility is to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, to live as though it were already yours, and to persist in that state until it is made visible. Doubt is the great destroyer of dreams. It creeps in subtly, whispering that nothing is changing, that reality is fixed, that what you want is beyond your reach. But doubt has no power except that which you give it. If you entertain it, if you allow it to take root in your mind, it will strangle the seed of your assumption before it has the chance to grow. You must guard your mind against it. When doubt arises, immediately replace it with certainty. Speak to yourself as one who already possesses what they seek. Refuse to entertain any thought that contradicts your vision. The key is persistence. You must occupy the state of the fulfilled desire so completely that it becomes your natural dwelling place. If you do this, reality will bend to accommodate your assumption. It cannot do otherwise, for the world is only ever responding to what you believe to be true. Your senses may tempt you to accept things as they are, but you must rise above them, seeing with the inner eye, knowing that what is real is not what is currently visible, but what is imagined with conviction. If you can master this, if you can hold to your assumption with unshakable faith, the world will be forced to yield. That which was once unseen will become seen. That which was once impossible will become inevitable. The power is within you, waiting only for your belief. You must understand that the world you experience is nothing more than a projection of your inner state. It is not separate from you, nor is it something happening to you. Rather, it is unfolding through you, a reflection of what you have accepted as true in the depth of your consciousness. The key to transformation lies in realizing that what you see in the outer world is merely the echo of your assumptions. If you wish to change what is reflected, you must first change what is being projected. Most people believe that circumstances have power over them, that life happens randomly or according to forces outside of their control. They react to the world, allowing events, conditions, and other people to dictate their inner state. They feel happy when things go well, discouraged when obstacles arise, and defeated when challenges persist. But to live this way is to surrender your creative power. It is to live as a slave to appearances, never realizing that you are the cause of all that you experience. You must awaken to the truth that your imagination is the only reality, and that the world is nothing but the outpicturing of your internal convictions. You may look around and see evidence that contradicts your desire. You may see lack, limitation, and obstacles, but these things do not exist independently of your consciousness. They are there because at some level you have accepted them as true. The moment you assume something different, the moment you persist in a new belief, the world has no choice but to conform. But this transformation does not happen through effort, struggle, or force. It happens through an inner shift, one so complete that the new assumption feels more real to you than the facts the senses present. There is a profound secret in understanding that the world moves not by external effort, but by internal alignment. The person who attempts to change conditions without first changing their belief will find themselves trapped in an endless cycle. They may work harder, try new strategies, or force circumstances to bend to their will, but none of it will lead to lasting success. The one who understands that all change begins within, however, will accomplish effortlessly what others fail to do through struggle. This is because they do not rely on effort, but on a deep inner knowing that what they assume must come to pass. You must come to see your inner state as the true cause and the world as the effect. The moment you reverse this understanding, thinking that circumstances dictate your experience, you surrender your power. Instead, you must live as though what you desire is already yours. You must feel it in your bones, walk in it, dwell in it, and refuse to acknowledge anything that contradicts it. If you do this, reality will shift to accommodate your new assumption. The outer world has no choice but to obey the inner command. This is not theory, but law. Everything you see is the result of an inner causation, whether conscious or unconscious. Most people live unconsciously, allowing old beliefs, past experiences, and inherited limitations to dictate their reality. They assume things to be a certain way because that is what they have always known. They believe in struggle because they have seen struggle. They believe in lack because they have experienced lack. But if they were to reverse this process, if they were to assume something new with absolute conviction, their entire world would reorganize itself accordingly. If you want to know what you truly believe, look at your life. The circumstances you find yourself in, the relationships you have, the conditions that persist, all of these are mirrors of your inner assumptions. They cannot be anything else. This is why it is futile to fight against the world, to try to change conditions without first changing yourself. The only way to transform your experience is to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, to dwell in it so completely that the outer world is forced to catch up. You may wonder how to persist in this assumption when everything around you seems to contradict it. The answer is simple. You must remain faithful to the unseen reality. The senses will attempt to pull you back, to convince you that nothing has changed. But you must train yourself to see beyond appearances. You must remind yourself that what is visible is only a reflection of past assumptions, and that by changing your belief now, you are setting in motion an entirely new future. This requires discipline, but it is a discipline of the mind, not of effort. It is not about working harder, but about thinking differently. It is about assuming a new identity, one that aligns with your desired outcome. If you desire wealth, you must no longer identify with lack. If you desire love, you must no longer identify with loneliness. You must become, in consciousness, the person who already possesses what they seek. And once you do, the world must reflect it. The greatest obstacle to this practice is doubt. The mind, conditioned by years of accepting external reality as truth, will try to convince you that your assumption is false. It will tell you that things take time, that change is difficult, that you are bound by circumstances beyond your control. But these are merely the remnants of old beliefs, and they have no power unless you accept them. The moment you deny them and replace them with a new assumption, the transformation begins. The process is simple, yet few will follow it. Many will attempt it briefly, only to abandon it when they see no immediate results. But those who persist, those who refuse to accept anything less than the reality they have chosen in imagination, will find that the world bends to their assumption. What was once a dream will become fact. What was once unseen will be made visible. The only requirement is absolute faith in the unseen, unwavering conviction in the truth of your assumption. When you master this, the world will become your servant, reflecting precisely what you have dared to assume as true. Everything that you desire already exists within you. The only reason it seems absent from your world is because you have not fully assumed its reality. You continue to see yourself as separate from it, as someone who must strive, hope, or wait for it to appear. But the moment you accept that the fulfillment of your desire is not something outside of you, but rather something you already possess in consciousness, everything shifts. The world must move to reflect your inner conviction, for it has no choice but to obey the assumptions you hold as true. The great error is believing that something must change in the external world before you can feel the reality of your desire. You wait for evidence, for signs, for circumstances to shift before you allow yourself to believe. But this is reversing the law. It is not the world that must change first, it is you. The moment you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, the moment you become inwardly convinced that what you seek is already yours, the world has no choice but to conform. It will take the shape of your assumption, not through effort or struggle, but through the natural outflow of consciousness. Look at the pattern of your thoughts. What do you habitually dwell upon? Do you see yourself as someone who is still waiting for their desires to be fulfilled? Or do you move through the world knowing, beyond all doubt, that what you seek is already yours? If you still feel separate from it, if you still see yourself as lacking, then you are reinforcing the very state you wish to escape. But if instead you begin to dwell in the consciousness of already having what you seek, if you walk, think, and act from the certainty that it is already done, then your world must shift to accommodate this new assumption. You may ask, how do I assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled? The answer is not in mere words or affirmations, though these can serve as tools. It is in a deep, abiding knowing that does not waver in the face of appearances. It is in cultivating the inner conviction that what you desire is not a distant possibility, but a present fact. You do this by entering the state of fulfillment in imagination, by seeing, feeling, and living the experience inwardly, so vividly that it becomes more real to you than the physical world. Imagination is the key to transformation. It is not a mere tool for entertainment or escape, but the very mechanism by which reality is shaped. If you can enter into a scene in your mind and feel it to be real, if you can lose yourself so completely in the assumption that it is already yours, then the world must make it so. There is no other way. The outer world is but a shadow cast by the inner state, and the only way to alter the shadow is to change the light source within. Most people live in reaction to the world. They see circumstances as fixed and unchangeable, believing that they must work within the confines of what appears real. But the truth is, nothing in your world is permanent. Every condition you experience is simply a reflection of past assumptions, And the moment you assume something new with full conviction, reality begins to rearrange itself. This is why you must train yourself to see beyond appearances, to disregard what the senses insist is true, and instead to hold steadfast to your inner knowing. Doubt is the only thing that can disrupt this process. The moment you allow uncertainty to creep in, the moment you question whether your assumption is real, you weaken its power. You must remain unmoved, regardless of what the world seems to show. The physical world is always a lagging reflection of the state you have previously assumed. If you are not yet seeing the evidence of your desire, it is only because you are still allowing old assumptions to persist. But the moment you fully embrace the new reality within, the old must dissolve. Do not look to time as a factor in this process. The question of when is irrelevant, because time itself is only an expression of consciousness. The more you focus on waiting, the more you reinforce the idea that your desire is not yet fulfilled. Instead, shift your attention entirely to the certainty that it is already done. Live from that state. Let your every thought, word, and action align with the assumption that you are already the person you wish to be, that you already have what you seek. If you do this consistently, reality must conform. The law is simple but requires discipline. It requires that you train yourself to ignore what the world presents as evidence and instead believe in the unseen reality that you have created within. It requires that you trust in the power of your imagination, that you do not waver in your assumption, and that you persist until the world catches up to your new state of being. Those who master this live effortlessly, for they no longer seek fulfillment outside of themselves. They know that everything they could ever want is already theirs, the moment they claim it in consciousness. And because they know this, the world has no choice but to reflect it. The moment you claim something in consciousness, it is yours. The only reason you do not yet see it in the world of form is that you continue to waver in your assumption. You allow appearances to dictate what you believe to be real, rather than holding firm to the unseen reality you have claimed within. This is the great secret. The world does not create your state of being. Your state of being creates the world. If you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled and persist in that assumption, the world has no choice but to conform. But persistence is not the act of repeatedly wishing for something to be true. It is not hoping, longing, or waiting. Persistence is the unwavering inner knowing that what you have claimed is already yours. It is living from that reality so completely that nothing can shake your conviction. It is refusing to return to the old state, no matter what the senses may show. When you persist in this way, reality bends. It must. The outer world is nothing but the reflection of your inner state, and when you refuse to shift from your assumption, the outer world must eventually surrender to your will. Most people fail not because they lack desire, but because they lack persistence. They begin to assume the state of the wish fulfilled. But the moment the world presents them with contrary evidence, they fall back into doubt. They question whether it is really working, whether they are doing it correctly, whether must do something more. And in doing so, they undo the very thing they had begun to create. The law is exact. What you assume and persist in must be made manifest. But if you allow yourself to waver, you will remain in the limbo of unfulfilled dreams. It is not enough to assume your desire once and then return to your previous way of thinking. Your dominant state of consciousness must be one of fulfillment. This means every thought, every reaction, every word must align with the reality you have claimed. You cannot declare yourself wealthy in imagination, but then respond to life as though you are poor. You cannot assume love and then behave as though you are still seeking it. To persist is to embody the state in every moment, to refuse to contradict your assumption in thought, word, or deed. You may say, "But I do not yet see it. How can I persist when the world shows me something else?" The answer is simple, because the world is only a delayed reflection. If you plant a seed in the earth and expect it to bloom instantly, you will be disappointed. But if you persist, if you water it, if you care for it, and trust that the process is already in motion, the plant will appear in due time. The same is true for your assumption. The moment you claim it in consciousness, it is planted. The only question is whether you will persist long enough for it to grow into form. Doubt is the only enemy. The moment you question whether it is working, you step out of the state of fulfillment and return to the state of lack. You must remain unshaken. If circumstances arise that seem to contradict your assumption, see them not as obstacles, but as the remnants of your old state dissolving. Do not react to them. Do not acknowledge them as real. Instead, continue to dwell in the reality you have claimed. The outer world is slow to catch up, but catch up it must, for it is bound by law to reflect your inner world. Ask yourself, what would you think, feel, and do if your desire were already fulfilled? How would you move through life? What thoughts would you entertain? What emotions would you carry? Live from that place now. Do not wait for evidence, create it within. The moment you truly persist in this state, the world around you will begin to shift. People will act in ways that support your assumption. Opportunities will appear where none existed before. Circumstances will rearrange themselves to bring forth that which you have assumed. But if you falter, if you allow the world to dictate your belief, you will delay your manifestation. You will remain stuck in the cycle of wanting, waiting, and hoping. The only way out is to persist in the assumption that it is already done. No matter what the world says, no matter what others tell you, no matter how things appear, hold firm. Reality will bend, but only to the one who refuses to waver. This is the power of persistence. It is the difference between those who create their lives consciously and those who remain at the mercy of circumstance. You must ask yourself, will you persist? Will you dare to remain unmoved by appearances, to trust in the unseen, to hold your assumption until the world has no choice but to yield? If you can do this, if you can remain unwavering in your inner conviction, then you will come to know the greatest truth of all, that nothing is impossible to the one who truly believes. The journey of living in the fulfilled desire is not about struggle, effort, or waiting for the world to confirm your assumption. It is about mastering the art of belief, about knowing that reality is shaped from within, and that what you assume with conviction must be externalized. Every thought you dwell upon, every emotion you entertain, and every state you persist in is creating the world around you. There is no separation between the inner and the outer. They are one. The key is to see beyond appearances, to trust that what you claim in imagination is already fact, even if your senses have yet to confirm it. You are not a passive observer in life. You are the creator. And the law is exact. What you accept as true and refuse to waver from must become your experience. The world has no choice but to conform. When you understand this truth, when you embody it and live by it, life ceases to be a series of random events and instead becomes a deliberate unfolding of your consciousness. No longer will you be at the mercy of circumstances, waiting for something outside of you to change. Instead, you will stand firm in the knowledge that you are the cause, that your inner world determines all, and that by persisting in the assumption of your fulfilled desire, you are molding reality itself. If you truly believe, if you remain unwavering in your assumption, if you refuse to be swayed by the evidence of the senses, then all that you have desired is already yours. Time is not a factor, circumstances are not obstacles, and doubt is the only thing that can delay you. Hold firm. Assume the wish fulfilled. Live from that place now, and the world will bow to your imagination.